Hi, welcome to Managing My Crown, the Experience. My name is Michelle Larkin. I am the author of Managing My Crown. It's born out of over 15, almost 20 years of experience, both mentoring and coaching. And I was excited to bring this project forward because as a mindset educator, an emotional alchemist, a healer, if you will, I have spent a lot of time investing in being a safe space for people to, without judgment, process what's going on internally so that they can perform at their best externally and move like the queen, king that they are with confidence, authority, and leaning in to growth experiences versus running from them or recoiling from them or even understanding what makes them get stuck so that they can't really capitalize on what growth is happening and or walk in the confidence that they are inherently endowed with. So I just want you to be engaged. I want you to focus. I thank you so much for even taking the time to invest in yourself because you are the most important person here. And for investing in that, we want to just walk through how to use the tool, how to unpack some things, how to reflect, how to really move this from a training wheel kind of toolkit to a mindset and ability to maximize all the things that you've learned so that you can live an empowered life. So let me share my screen and we'll get started. Didn't share the way I wanted to. So again, this is the first module of the book, Managing My Crown. I want to walk you through what this course or this particular module is going to look like, and then I'm going to kind of walk you through what the course itself is. So first we'll have this introduction is about 15 to 20 minutes. Where I'll welcome you, which I just did, overview the course structure, give you a couple of key principles for managing my crown, and then set some personal intentions for this course. So what I want you to be able to expect from this is to again maximize the experience, be mindful that this is a reflective and interactive journey. We're going to explore the three pillars and the 10 principles. And I want you to walk away with an empowered and enlightened approach to living your best life. Right? So, next, we're going to talk about the key principles and setting intentions. So, in an effort to make sure that you have the most and meaty, like great experience with this book, I wanted to make sure that you understand what a Queen's Move mindset is, right? So, Queen's Moves is the coaching business I have. So, I'm a Queen's Moves Coaching is my business. You can find it on Instagram, queensmoves.net, etc. Right? So, why the Queen motif? It started with a lesson that I taught about in for a group of leaders around the structure and the strategy of chess and how as the queen piece is the most powerful piece because it has the most opportunities and the most types of moves that it can make, right? So it always has different perspectives to move than the rest of the pieces. And so from that, that moved into like, what is a queen's move mindset, right? So if I lived life like I always had options and I always had a multiplicity of options to choose from in any situation, wouldn't I move differently? And so that is the root of Queen's Moves. And then the mindset became um, a, a metaphor or a framework for which I help my clients kind of understand that if you are going to take on the queen position and the ability to move in that way, then you have to also inherently take on the mindset, right? And the crown sits on the head, which is where your mind is. And so for me, the crown represents the mindset It represents autonomy. It represents responsibility. It represents regency, agency, right? All of which are rooted in authority, an authority that was given to us inherently by our Creator, because we were created to be um, spiritual beings living in a physical space, right? And so we have tools available to us that is our responsibility to understand, to manage, to leverage, and to help us execute the purpose for which we've been put here, right? So that really is the framework of what a Queen's Move mindset is how do I help people? How can I help you tap into the tools you've been given in a way that it becomes second nature and not something that is just only tapped into in emergency or only tapped into in crisis, right? So that's part of why the book was written. So the framework is built on three pillars. Oops, that's three, not two. Three pillars: adjusting your crown, managing your empire, and making your next best move. So, addressing your crown naturally would represent taking inventory of the things that are contributing to your belief system, checking to ensure that they are continuously accurate. And if not, can I pivot and adjust to make sure that I'm functioning with the most relevant, most current information and the most reasonable, I don't know, reasonable is not the right word, the most valuable truth. And I say that because what you believed as truth as a child is not what you believe as truth as an adult. Because again, you have the more critical skills to examine, is this make sense for me? And do I have to accept it as truth, or is it just a fact that has been shared with me, or piece of information that's been shared with me? Empire building is really about if I get my mindset right, then I can manage the goals, intentions, purpose, sense of fulfillment. All of these are elements of your empire. I can manage all of those and I can start to build those in a way that allows me to move like the regent that I am, right? And so, understanding if I get my mind right, I understand what my purpose or what my goal in this situation is, or what I'm clear about achieving and what is available to me to help me achieve that. And then I make a move with clarity, intention, wisdom, and purpose. That's called making a queen's move. Because in the game of chess, when you're making a move, it's to set you up to gain the most territory and then position yourself to get to the king, basically, right? Each of the moves that we make in life are moving us forward in a path toward achieving our sense of purpose or a goal that will then be replaced by the next goal. But all of this is move, counter move. So I really wanted to make sure that you understood that and then reflected on the fact that all of this is fueled by the power of intention. What are your intentions? Do you ever take inventory of your intentions? Are you clear about what you want to achieve? Do you know why you're here? Do you align each action that you take with the reason that you're here? Right? So, understanding and underlying the motivations or goals of your behavior, sometimes conscious, sometimes unconscious, but the exercise of working through this whole journal is to get you to think about, identify, address, and reconcile what goals and motivations lie behind your behaviors so that you can tap into the universal laws and leverage things like vibration, attraction, reciprocity to move your life in the direction of fulfilling your dreams. So what are setting intentions, right? So intention is a really powerful word for this journey. So I want you to invest in the process of moving from intention to action. So intentions are about the beliefs and the motivations behind your goals. I tend to get about stuck sometimes in the paralysis of analysis, right? So just overly thinking and researching and getting all the facts right. But sometimes you got to get out of that to get unstuck, you have to move into action. And sometimes that's just a baby step. And that is what sometimes journaling is that first step to get it out of your head, into your hand, onto a piece of paper that you can now read and move to a checklist. Check, move on, right? So I want you to start this process by, and these questions are in the journal. I want you to start in this section where I say, here's a thought, look at it, write down your assessment. Because if you don't know where you are, how are we going to help move to where we want to be? So here's a couple of thought starter questions. Have you ever been in the flow? Do you know what the flow is? And flow is kind of like, simplest explanation is when you are going to the grocery store, you in a rush and you're like, oh, I hope I get a parking space. Or not even I hope, I'm going to get a parking space right up front because I'm just getting here and get out and move on. And the parking space shows up right there, right where you're supposed. That's in the flow. Have a couple of days like that where I was just thinking about Joe and Joe walks up. Being in the flow is something that can be tapped into or sustained if you understand what your mindset and where you were at the time when this serendipitous moment occurred, right? Have you ever taken inventory of your thoughts? One of the biggest things I can tell you as a coach is that often we don't revisit some of the beliefs that were put upon us in our childhood as adults to check and see if what we were told as a child is still valid today. For example, me personally, I've always felt like I was a responsibility, you know, because I was in a lot of babysitting situations, right? So then that made me feel like I wasn't my value. I wasn't as valuable. I wasn't. It wasn't loved as much as I thought I should be. As an adult, I had to reflect and go, well, was that a childhood interpretation of the situation? As a child, you don't have all the information. Understanding that how work impacts the ability to have time, impacts the ability, the availability, and the mental space is not available sometimes to the parent to be able to be present. Is that a lack of love, or is that a situation based on circumstance? So as an adult, I can then revisit and say, no, I am loved. I was well taken care of, and I can move differently because that belief system has been adjusted. Another thought starter. Do you know what your feelings are telling you? So, sometimes you're just sad, you're just despondent, or sometimes you're both happy and sad and it's back and forth. If you just kind of sat with your emotions, just figured out which emotion comes up first and which one is the most like intense for you, and then look behind that one and see if there's anything else. What are they triggering for you? If you are projecting joy because that's what everybody expects from you, yet your soul feels sad, that dissonance is going to cause you to be unable to move in some areas or to not celebrate the accomplishments of joy because you realize that there's dissonance. Well, let's figure out what's behind it. What's making you sad? Do you know what you're afraid of? Do you know what makes you not move? Do you know what keeps you from experiencing joy? Do you know what makes you always respond in tailspin if a certain word or a certain situation occurs? Do you know what makes you lose control and therefore lose confidence? Things that if they come up for you, write them down. What's your future vision for yourself? If you picked up Managing My Crown, you have a future vision, and it's quite possible that you're just looking for the tools to execute getting to that next space. So let's write down what's the vision you have for yourself. One of the things that I wanted to do as you walk through in the journal, there's in the intro, kind of like write as you go through these situations, write them down. I want you to take that first week's check in and I want you to write these things there because they're going to establish your current state. So you can, at the end of the year or in 2 months, look at your current state versus your pre state and start to evaluate progress, patterns, and things like that. So, I want you to write down your starting mindset today. How do you feel? Are you stuck? Are you clear? Are you curious? Are you looking at one particular goal? Like, what is your current mindset? And based on the answers to those questions, how would you describe it in one sentence? Just slow it down to one sentence. And I want you to, like I said, put that information on your starting weekly page. How are you feeling? What kind of things resonate with you? Do you feel like you need to make a move? Do you feel like you need to adjust your crown? Do you feel like you really need to understand what your empire is made of? Think about what those are and put that on that first week. In that way, you will be able to get started on your journey because you will have a starting point. And then we can move forward as we get to the next couple of modules and we'll unpack more about how to make those next best moves. Thanks for joining. I look forward to seeing you in the next module.